Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the judiciary, especially Lady Justice Sharp. It is Fareed El-Diwani here, retired Lincoln's Inn solicitor, and I am going to be showcasing my book, which is in front of you, written under my pen name, my pseudonym of Frederick Delaware, to ingratiate myself with the white community. Although I am not dark-skinned myself, I have a name, Fareed El-Diwani, that is associated with lesser people. And the book is called Betrayal and Treachery. It's about Lady Justice Sharp, Victoria Madeleine Sharp, and the unknown story of Dame Victoria Sharp, President now of the King's Bench Division at the Royal Court of Justice in London, and her invidious role in hiding vile Norwegian abuse. I published this book in 2019, and it dealt with my role as public enemy number one in Norway for highlighting far-right Norwegian Islamophobia, which of course culminated in mass murderer Anders Behring Breivik on the 22nd of July 2011, murdering 77 people, 69 of them in cold blood. He shot dead at Utøya Island in Norway. 69 mainly young people who he executed because they were supporters of the ruling Labour Party in Norway, and Breivik did not like the Labour Party, the governing Labour Party, because in his opinion they had let in too many Muslims to live in Norway, and so he thought he'd kill the next generation of leaders and shot 69 of them dead. Before that, he was in Oslo in the morning, and his van bomb blew up my High Court opponents, who were the Ministry of Justice and Police Norway. And in that building that he blew up, Anders Breivik, killing 7 people, was the attorney acting for the Ministry of Justice and the Police Norway, Christian Rausch. He was off sick for the next 16 months, he told me himself. And the newspaper who had written against me, which I will show you down here, Verdens Gang newspaper, VG, okay, with my girlfriend on the front page there, my former girlfriend, a registered mental patient called Heidi Schön, who has since been declared a liar by Mr. Justice Saini in his 2021 judgment. Then we are on the front pages there, alleging my 13 years of Muslim sex terror. This coming from a woman who herself had slept with 21 different men by the time she was aged 21. So, let's go back to Mrs. Justice Sharp's book there. So, on the 29th of July, Mrs. Justice Sharp got out a pretty sick Muslim-hating judgment there. But she rushed it out, I think, because only 7 days earlier, my High Court opponents, as I said, were blown to kingdom come, along with, as I said, Verdens Gang newspaper in the same building. And Breivik, the Muslim hater, had proven my point beyond all measure and destroyed my opponents within 60 seconds. Now, Mrs. Justice Sharp, I read out to her the sickest hate emails imaginable that I'd received from Norway, thanks entirely to my High Court opponent, Police Sergeant Toril Salter, who I was suing along with her ministry. And I was reading them out to about a dozen of them, and Mrs. Sharp refused in court, which was on the 16th of March 2011, to condemn me being told to go fuck under the camel, being told that the Prophet Muhammad was a confused paedophile, being told or being asked if I lick the arseholes of pigs clean before I eat them, being told that Muslims were the root of all evil, being told by someone that they were going to fuck my mother because she likes white men, and that's, again, a Norwegian assuming from my name, Farid al-Dawani, Egyptian name, that I was dark-skinned. Okay, so going to fuck your mother, she liked white man, and asked if I was interfered with in a mental hospital, asked if I did outrageous things. It was vile stuff that was sent to me, and it was all declared a hate crime by the Essex police and sent to Interpol in 2007. And Mrs. Justice Sharp, in court and in her judgment, refused to condemn any of it. Now, this is sick, disgusting behaviour by an officer of the court in Mrs. Justice Sharp. I wrote the whole story down there, as you can see in that book, and it is available on Amazon. And in 2023, on the 31st of July 2023, Sir Geoffrey Voss, Master of the Rolls at the Royal Court of Justice, told me that Mrs. Justice Sharp, if she, in her discretion, as part of her case management, did not feel the need to condemn me being told to go fuck under the camel, or that my semen is only fit for a pig, or that the Prophet Muhammad was a confused paedophile, if Mrs. Justice Sharp did not want to condemn those emails, then it was entirely her prerogative not to. And specifically in his judgment, Sir Geoffrey Voss said, and I quote, "It did not fall to be decided that language had to be condemned." Full stop. So Geoffrey Voss, you are a cheat and a liar. You are a disgrace to your faith and to humanity in general. Why? Because those hate emails were the catalyst for my libel litigation in 2011. Okay, so for you to say that it did not fall to be decided is disgraceful. You need a psychiatrist. You need to retire. You're an old man. You just need to get out of the profession, the judiciary, and go and contemplate your wickedness. What you have done is disgraceful beyond measure. You knew perfectly well, on top of that there was this racial bias and the bench November 2022 report issued by Manchester University and co-authored by Keir Monteith, King's Counsel of Garden Courts Chambers in Lincoln's Inn Fields. There you've got two professors there as well, you can see there. Two professors who have alleged that there is institutional racism in the judiciary. You've ignored all that. This is a very worthy report, and you've ignored all that. And the institutional racism includes elements of Islamophobia, of mistreatment of a minority, which Muslims certainly are. They won't be for too long. They'll be catching up. There isn't a single Muslim full-time judge at the Royal Courts of Justice. Not one black judge either. Not one black man is a full-time judge at the Royal Courts of Justice. You make sure, don't you, Sir Geoffrey Voss, despite all your so-called efforts to promote diversity, you make sure there are no Muslims there, don't you? I wonder why. I wonder why. So basically, you've got a massive problem. And I urge people to buy this book, Betrayal and Treachery, just to see the background and the shit I have had to put up with for 25 years. It took 25 years for Mr. Justice Saini, for any judge anywhere, to call my former companion girlfriend Heidi Schern a liar. He said that her newspaper stories were far from the truth. Okay, so 25 years it took, but Mrs. Justice Sharp wouldn't say so, no. And Mrs. Justice Sharp as well vindicated the stinking lying bitch of a police officer, Police Sergeant Toril Sauter in Norway, who alleged that I'd been locked up from 1992 to 1994 in a psychiatric hospital. So in 92 to 94, I'd spent 2 whole years in a mental hospital when I hadn't spent 2 seconds in any fucking mental hospital. For the entire period, 1989 to 1998, I was the commercial property solicitor with the Port of London Authority, with no 2-year gap for incarceration in a mental hospital. So, when I went onto social media to call Police Sergeant Toril Sauter a liar, cheat and abuser, she goes back to another newspaper to say that I am clearly mentally unstable because I have called her a liar and corrupt. Well, she is a liar and corrupt, Police Sergeant Toril Sauter, because I did not spend 2 seconds in any mental hospital, let alone 2 years. Okay, and so, who did Police Sergeant Toril Sauter tell about that I'd been locked up for 2 years? She told 2 million readers of this newspaper. There we are, that bloody newspaper. Again with my girlfriend on the front, ex-girlfriend on the front. And this time, it was 23 years of sex terror, coming from the most promiscuous woman that God ever created in Norway. World leaders in casual sex and one-night stands, the Aftenposten Norwegian newspaper said about Norwegian youth in 2003. Okay, so let's focus again on Mrs. Justice Sharp and my book on her. Okay, so basically, Mrs. Justice Sharp, you are a cheat, a terrible cheat. And it is this book that I distributed, since it was published in 2019, to many judges up and down the country, to judges at the Supreme Court. And I hope and I think that it had an effect in ensuring that you did not get the position of Lady Chief Justice when Sir Ian Burnett retired. Okay, because if you had got that job, I would have pursued you and made your life hell, more so than I have already, because you are unfit to be a judge. I hope you're listening to this. You're unfit. You're a disgrace to your own faith. You're a disgrace to the Muslims of this country. You're a disgrace to anybody who has decency uppermost in their minds and hearts. You ruin lives. And you've just been vindicated just to protect you, not in the interest of justice, but you've been saved by Sir Geoffrey Voss and his fellow members of the judiciary, Lady Justice McClure and Lady Justice Falk. It certainly did fall to be decided to condemn that filth, because it was central to my case. Okay? Even on the basis of simple humanity, it falls to condemn that filth, which you couldn't do. How the hell? What were you thinking? Do you hate me so much? I think you do, don't you? You do hate me. So, it's not... You're a nasty piece of work, and it's not just my opinion. You've got this book here, The Final Verdict. It's on Robert Maxwell. Okay? And you acted for Robert Maxwell when you were a barrister. Okay, this is Tom Bower, the author Tom Bower. And he also did an earlier one called Maxwell the Outsider, much earlier. Now, I've read both, and I enjoyed those books. They were well written, and Tom Bower is a respected author. He's also Jewish. He's an honourable Jew. You are a Jew as well, Lady Justice Sharp, Victoria Sharp. But Maxwell was Jewish as well. It was an all-Jewish affair when you tried to defend the indefensible in Robert Maxwell, who didn't want Tom Bower to publish this book. Now, people will remember that Robert Maxwell is the father of that disgusting piece of dirt, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now doing life imprisonment in New York. Okay, so just for an independent view, let's see what Tom Bower wrote, shall we, in his book. I'm going to read it out. This is what Tom Bower writes on in the preface, page 19, X1X of the preface. Four lawyers were Maxwell's principal advisors. Lord Mishcon and Anthony Julius were his solicitors, and Richard Rampton QC and Victoria Sharp were the barristers. During their frequent court appearances, they betrayed no hint of doubt about their client's virtues. On the contrary, they pursued his mission with depressing vigour, commitment, and pitilessness. There we are. There it is in there. Okay, I don't know if you can see part of it there. Okay, four lawyers were Maxwell. There we are. You can see it there. Okay, so basically, you supped with the devil. You supped with harlotry that night in acting for Maxwell because of his big star reputation and the money. Chairman of the Daily Mirror Group. Okay, you sold your soul that night for a piece of garbage in Robert Maxwell. All right. So you've got Tom Bower, honourable gentleman, damning you for your despicable behaviour. Now you're also featured in this book. It's on George Carman QC, the King of Libel, the late George Carman. And it's written by his son, Dominic Carman. It's called No Ordinary Man, A Life of George Carman. And George Carman was your leader, Victoria Sharp, wasn't he? When he was in Lincoln's Inn. Had a flat in Lincoln's Inn. And I'm very familiar with Lincoln's Inn because for nearly 5 years I worked in Old Square Lincoln's Inn as a solicitor. And Dominic Carman, who I have spoken to, because George Carman's girlfriend was in the year above me at law school, Karen Phillips. Karen Phillips was in the year above me at my law school. But also you are in there talking about when George Carman QC had retired. You spoke to him all the time in his retirement, and you tell everybody, you've got 4 children and all the rest of it, and what a great life you're having and a top barrister, etc., etc. But you must have known, and it's all written by Dominic Carman, that George Carman was a wife beater. He was a drunk. He was bisexual. He was a gambler. He lost $3 million at the tables. And Dominic Carman told me that his father was always living on overdraft. Now, George Carman is by any measure an abuser and a barrister. Okay, a top barrister in the country, instructed by celebrities, instructed by newspapers. You knew damn well he was an abuser, but you kept quiet. You kept it to yourself in order to climb the greasy pole, to become a QC yourself, a silk, and then get into the High Court. But what your life is meaningless. You're a disgrace to everybody in this country. You bring shame on your family. Okay? So, just remember that God will judge you in due course for the disgraceful behaviour you've exhibited. In the last, I have had to suffer 12 years of litigating at the High Court, and every single judge, right up to Lord Justice Popplewell, still refuses to condemn me being told to go fuck under the camel. Same with Lord Justice Jackson. Okay, and Sir Richard Buxton as well. Refuse. Well, why the hell can't you just... It does fall to be decided, that kind of shit. I wouldn't have brought it up. I wouldn't have introduced it for no good reason. Your chicanery, the manipulation and half-truths and lies from the judiciary, you sicken me, all of you. All of you, just retire. Bring some fresh blood in. Okay, so that's it for now. Just buy the book, please, everybody, because it is an amazing book. And I have written many, many other books that are all available on Amazon under my own name, Farid El-Dawani, under my two pseudonyms, my pen names of Frederick Delaware and Frederick Wright. Okay, and I will finish off by congratulating Lady Justice Carr on getting the job, even though Victoria Sharp was the favourite. Okay, the older woman was the favourite. And I have the support of Lord Pickles, my former MP, who wanted the judicial conduct rules changed, wrote to Chris Grayling, Lord Chancellor Chris Grayling, in 2014, asking for a meeting to change the judicial conduct rules to make it an offence of misconduct for a judge to fail to condemn filth such as was directed at me, which will deeply offend the religious community. Okay, so Chris Grayling just basically rebuffed Lord Pickles, and his advice was that he can't interfere with the judgment, he won't do anything about the judicial conduct rules, and he told me to appeal. Well, I did appeal 4 times, and each time still refusal to condemn me being told to go fuck under the camel and the rest of it. I specifically asked to have that stuff condemned. I asked for Police Sergeant Torrell Saw to be condemned for that ludicrous life-ruining allegation, and none of you did it. You are cheats, all of you. And also the Metropolitan Police. It's Acting Inspector Jeff Cook of the Metropolitan Police at Charing Cross Road was speaking to the Crown Prosecution Service for the misconduct of Lord Justice Popplewell, who twice refused when specifically asked to condemn that hate crime of me being told of his refusal to condemn the hate crime of me being told to go fuck out of the camel, that my semen is only fit for a pig. Prophet Muhammad's a confused paedophile, etc., etc. It is a disgrace, beyond words, for you to pretend you didn't have to decide that needed condemning. Okay, so that's it. Good night, everybody. It's been a depressing evening because Tottenham Hotspur have lost to West Ham United 2-1. So let's hope they have better luck with Newcastle on, I think, Saturday or Sunday. So to all my Middle Eastern listeners and readers, I say Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you all. Has Saeed and kullu kwais inshallah. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.